Hey guys, Allison here with a Baywatching sidetrack. As you might have noticed, new episodes are underway again, and I just wanted to give a short update about the show and, of course, spread the bodacious Baywatch gospel. So, first things first, you might notice going forward that Baywatching and Baywatching Nights have shorter intros. Unfortunately, that's up to YouTube, but that's how the rescue can crumbles. There's still plenty of burger-filled goodness ahead, so I hope you continue to watch and laugh along with me. Speaking of which, here's the biggie. If you want to do some Baywatching alongside the show, Baywatch has been remastered in HD and put on Amazon Prime. Hot damn! This is pretty historic, actually. I covered this a bit in the very first Baywatching, but the show's release has been scattered and messy. In fact, it's never been completely released in the US. The only ones released were the first 3 seasons on DVD in 2006 and 7, and even then they were mislabeled. Season 1 was Season 2, Season 2 was Season 3, and Season 1 episodes were randomly scattered throughout. And of course, as with many TV box sets of shows pre-existing DVD release contracts, the music was replaced due to rights issues. That's also a large reason why most distributors don't bother with the hassle, and end up either not releasing shows or leaving them incomplete. I had to purchase the German Baywatch DVDs because of differing copyright laws, which means it includes the original soundtrack, and yes, the Germans love them some Baywatch, so it's all there. Anywho, now that Baywatch is on Prime, I wanted to give a short overview of what you're in for should you decide to take the plunge. Baywatch has still not been released in its entirety. Son of a Mitch. While the first 9 seasons are streaming, Baywatch Hawaii has been omitted and the last 2 seasons are missing. And of course, Baywatch Nights, however you want to count it. I don't know exactly what happened with Hawaii, but I'm going to guess that they shot it on something that was either harder to upscale or not in HD to begin with. It could also be differing rights issues, but I'm not clear on that. The upside is, Baywatch Hawaii blows big time, so you're not really missing anything.
What if it turned out to be that you were the weak link?
That's an interesting thought, but it's not possible.
That being said, Baywatch looks the best it ever has. These transfers are absolutely fantastic. The color and the lighting are so much nicer, and now you can count every single one of the Hoff's chest hairs. This does away with a lot of the yellow or desaturated coloring that comes with tape transfers, and I gotta say, it's bizarre seeing Baywatch with such clarity. Eddie's crop top never looked this amazing. You can tell they put a ton of time and effort into remastering these episodes, more so than I've seen with other, more critically acclaimed shows. Fremantle Media went into this largely with the idea in mind to shop this series around for syndication and possibly entice an audience for a reboot? So there was a huge push to make this fit a more modern aesthetic. Unfortunately, that means some things I don't prefer, like for instance cropping all of the episodes to widescreen. You still get some extra footage on the sides because it was made on film, but they couldn't use very much of it because, as we've seen with widescreen upgrades for shows like Buffy, crew members and equipment were often just on the side and out of the full-screen safe area. Baywatch was filmed with blocking specifically for a full-screen format, so by cropping it in, you can get some wonky framing and way too close shots. It would be different if this had been filmed with widescreen in mind, but most shows that aren't The X-Files didn't have that kind of foresight, so we do lose quite a bit of picture. Interestingly, like this shot here, some of the re-edits include alternate takes. It appears these are completely re-edited from the film, which is an insane undertaking. I don't think any show since Star Trek The Next Generation has gotten that kind of overhaul. But unlike Next Generation, I don't think quite the same care has been put into being faithful to the original production. It's a bit disingenuous to what the show was actually like. I don't think they had separate audio tracks at all, because whenever there's music they couldn't remove, they just put in a new soundtrack and lazily didn't add any new sound effects. This makes Eddie being attacked by the Night Puncher funny in a new way. The the editing confuses the hell out of me. Like, I can tell it was a lot of work, but not always in the right places. Additionally, some scenes are missing, such as the nudity in the pilot. I don't know if this has to do with their deal with Amazon, or maybe they thought it would affect the rating of the entire season, but in If Looks Can Kill, you can 100% see a nip slip. So keep your eyes peeled, I guess. It's also worth noting that the effects, what little there are completely redone. Noticeably, the blue screen around Summer here is less prominent, but it's also extremely feathered, so they lose details on her face. And they've completely redone the opening credits for Season 1 to the familiar theme of I'll Be Ready, as that season had a different song originally. I'm not incredibly married to the Season 1 theme, and it was pretty cool actually to see an entirely new intro. But speaking of music, inevitably, there's replacements. I don't blame them on this front because there's a ton of licenses and money involved, especially in a show that so heavily relies on montages and songs that were popular at the time. With that in mind, the songs they replaced them with are not badly produced. This wasn't a simple task either. Apparently, composer Corey Larios assisted in replacing over 300 songs for them. Some of them you won't notice, others are pretty obvious.
But I won't cry for yesterday. There's an ordinary world. Seems like yesterday. Memories can be washed away.
A few songs from the original show are kept in, but I would guess that about 95% of them are changed. And you know who they definitely didn't pay for his songs? That's right, David Hasselhoff, which is exceedingly hilarious when it's used over his own concert footage.
It's like a freight train coming to show you how to get your groove on.
Here's where things get really messy though. Sometimes a song is just unavoidable. So whenever a character is singing along and it's not easily piped in, it's just cut completely. In most episodes where it's simply a montage, it won't be noticed, but there are some where it is absolutely horrendously chopped up. Take my favorite episode, The Runaways, for example. The plot of that one revolves around an upstart singer, Molly, who wants to get a big record contract, and also Little Richard is there. Every single song is cut. It turns the plot into nonsense. This is the actual editing of a scene in the HD version.
Hey, Maurice!
Amateur hour. Molly's story and the episode in turn make absolutely no sense. And the ending with Little Richard is excised completely. It just abruptly fades to black after the scene prior. In total, this episode is 10 minutes shorter than the original cut. And when you factor in the 2-minute opening credits, that's only about 30 minutes worth of episode from an hour-long format. It is atrocious how badly done some of this is. Oh, and by the way, some of the episodes on Prime are just incorrect. River of No Return is the episode Island of Romance, which gets really confusing because it's immediately followed by River of No Return Part 2. And Island of Romance is Dead of Summer, which is actually there under the proper label, which means if you're just binging this, you're gonna be seeing it twice. So I don't think it'll be a surprise to you guys when I say that I won't be using these versions for Baywatching. There's just too many factors that would be a negative for me as far as comprehensively reviewing Baywatch. But even if this release had been perfect, it just feels more honest to present the show as it was in the 90s. Full screen, SD, and just a little worn around the edges. I gotta be real with you guys. I had to rewrite almost the entire script for this video. I actually recorded something more positive, but the longer I was capturing footage, the more I realized that this is a really good-looking kind of mess. And I think it's important to let everyone know what this release actually is, but I also don't want to end on a bad note. I think it's fantastic that Baywatch has been re-released, and even though it's very imperfect, I'm glad that there's a cheaper, legal way for people to be able to watch this hilarious show now. Baywatch gets to reach a wider audience and gain new fans. And if you've enjoyed Baywatching at all, I encourage you to check out some of your favorite episodes in their almost entirety. Baywatch has been rescued from the depths and nearly brought back to life. And that's pretty darn cool.